Out in the open on a bustling St. Louis city street, the Hyperloop pod is unexpected and welcomed by people passing by. The XP1 is a one-of-a-kind pod that made history as the world's first to complete a full system Hyperloop test. This Virgin Hyperloop One pod set the record of 240 miles per hour on 550 yards of track. It's here as part of a national roadshow.
We want people to experience it. We want people to know that this is not something that is so futuristic that you can't touch, that is in a glass case. This is something that we will all experience, that we'll all ride in. So we want people to know what it's like.
Missouri's Blue Ribbon Panel on Hyperloop, chaired by the state's lieutenant governor, released a 176-page report on the heels of a big announcement from Virgin Hyperloop One. It's wanting to build a full-scale certification test track. The company is asking states to submit proposals to support and host the development of a national certification center to test and validate the technology. The next critical step.
It is something that we think is very necessary to get a technology that's going to be approved for passenger operations. And so we're looking at different locations throughout the U.S. that can host this. We've gotten a lot of interest so far.
The bipartisan Blue Ribbon Panel on Hyperloop makes the case for the national certification track in its report, positioning Missouri to win a bid for a 12 to 15 mile test track. Andrew Smith is the panel's vice chair.
At Virgin Hyperloop One, which built this system, is going to be doing a national RFP to build a certification track. And that really is the next step in this process. Before we can start building between cities, we've got to have about a 12 to 15 mile full-sized route where the system can reach full speed and where it can be certified for human safety and where we can build a regulatory regime for it. And we're hoping that that happens in Missouri.
If it does, and if that leads to a fully operational Hyperloop system, the journey on a pod between St. Louis and Kansas City would take less than 30 minutes. To be more exact, 28 minutes when traveling at 670 miles per hour. And traveling to Columbia, 15 minutes.
7 years, I think, is the timetable that we're looking at for commercial routes. But a decision on where to build the certification track in the United States, I think, will come in early 2020.
The panel investigated the steps that would help Missouri become the global epicenter for the research, development, and commercialization of tubed transport technology. The report states that the Missouri Hyperloop would become the first Hyperloop system in the U.S., connecting 3 Missouri metro areas and the University of Missouri system into a hyper-connected economic mega-region. The panel feels strongly about this based on the research.
We've really kind of divided the work into 4 categories. The first is, what's the economic impact of something like this? How many jobs will it create? What will it do for our key industry?
According to the report, Hyperloop would have an annual economic impact of $1.67 billion to $3.68 billion, with the creation of 7,600 to 17,200 jobs, significantly strengthening key industries, increasing tax revenues, and increasing real estate values around portal locations.
The next is, how do you build a research ecosystem around it to support it? We know that this is going to take a lot of collaboration from universities. And in Missouri, we have a terrific engineering school in University of Missouri at both their Mizzou campus and at Rolla. And they've taken a lead in putting together a consortium of universities from all around the country that want to do research on Hyperloop and help commercialize it. The third is, what's the regulatory and legislative landscape? What laws do we need to change? What regulations do we need to have in place to be able to build this? Because it doesn't really fit into any category. It's not a car, it's not a train, it's not a plane, but it's got aspects of all of those things to it. And then finally, how do you pay for it?
The project is expected to cost $7.3 billion to $10.4 billion, as much as $40 million per mile.
We know there's not going to be a Hyperloop tax in Missouri, right, to build this. And we know that this is not going to be something that the legislature just appropriates money to build. So we're looking at federal sources, we're looking at local sources, we're looking at some state support for it, but primarily we're looking at successful public-private partnerships, or P3s, that have been done around the world to build new infrastructure. We're also going to have to recruit private investors who see a business case for building it.
The report lists more benefits to the state, including reducing carbon dioxide emissions by more than 530,000 metric tons, reducing as many as 1,564 traffic accidents per year, saving lives, and saving money by as much as $176 million a year in societal and economic costs from those accidents. Smith says the report provides a roadmap that they hope will give them the ability and speed to cross the finish line first. He says the report makes a strong case for getting the national certification track. Virgin Hyperloop One says the location for the certification center does not guarantee that state will have the country's first route. But if it happens for Missouri, Smith says it would give the state reason to believe.
That's a significant investment, significant commitment of time and resources, so it makes sense to extend that.
If Missouri isn't first, that wouldn't mean it's out of the loop.
We're not talking about only building Hyperloops in one state. We see this being a network that will eventually connect all of the U.S.
For HEC, I'm Kathleen Berger.